The killing of George Floyd by a police officer in the state of Minnesota on May 25th unleashed a new wave of protests across the United States, which quickly spread around the world. The protests were part of a growing movement known as Black Lives Matter. Millions of people have voluntarily acted as one, taking collective action against the state. So how did the BLM go from a hashtag to the center of political contentions in the United States? And what role has the US government played in shaping the movement? Is taking a knee taking a stand, or is it treason as viewed by some in the Trump administration? I'm Ali Mustafa, and this is Black Lives Movement Decoded. It's 2012, and the fatal shooting of African-American teenager Trayvon Martin by a white man sparks protests across the United States. A year and a half later, that night watchman George Zimmerman is acquitted of second-degree murder and manslaughter. In the aftermath of the ruling, the Black Lives Matter hashtag is born. The movement spread quickly in the following years with the killings of even more black men. But it's not until 2020, 7 years on, that BLM becomes a contentious issue in the center of the political narrative. So how did the BLM movement go about it? Well, it starts with collective action, when BLM activists start making claims of the government to end what they say is institutional racism, police brutality, and the unjust treatment of minorities. And the numbers, well, they speak for themselves. Black men are 3 times more likely to be killed by police than white men in the United States. Black women, 1.5 times more likely to be killed than their white counterparts. African Americans represented 24% of all people killed by police in 2019, despite making only 13% of the US population. So there is a problem. But is BLM an effective solution? Well, it comes down to a few things you might not have considered. For example, the size of the groups leading the movement. Some economists calculated the effective size at not more than 7 people. Members of these groups link up with 7 others to create so-called intermediate groups. These in turn tap into people sympathetic to a cause, in this case, BLM. So what BLM shows then is that small groups of people can voluntarily organize to put pressure on the state. But if a movement survives or not depends on the opportunities a state provides. On June 23rd, police tear-gassed protesters outside the White House to make way for Donald Trump to have his picture taken in front of the St. John's Episcopal Church holding up a Bible. It was meant to show nonviolent protesters who was in charge, to send a clear message: the state will not stay silent when challenged. So the success or failure of a movement such as the BLM is effectively shaped by the state's response. If a state is open to negotiate, peaceful protests are enough to open dialogue. But if the state decides to use the stick, an opportunity arises for the movement to also turn violent. If the 60s civil rights movement helped African Americans see their relationship with their government differently, what outcomes will the BLM movement have in claiming a new social contract with authority? And activists say it's urgently needed because of the 8,264 police-related killings in the United States since 2013, only 1% of the officers involved have been charged. To change this, those in power must be more considerate of the BLM's claims. Black lives do certainly matter, but in the US, power matters more. That's all from Decoded this week. You'll find us 24/7 on YouTube. Reach out to me with your questions and comments, or if you'd like something decoded, I'm at Ali_Mustafa on Twitter. See you next time.